Okay, nothing else on board? Public concerns.
So, this is like public comment, and then it's, okay. I'd like to say that,
Let me stand up so you.
okay.
Well, if we could,
Or do you want
because we
to,
have a lot of, I don't want to say strange faces, but for folks that we don't know, state your name for the record and maybe where you're from. And
okay.
so we can do it.
Peter Uterberg from Plymouth. I just wanted to point out that the problems of water well contamination are showing up wherever the gas drillers are operating. And Jamie Frederick spoke on this subject at the Ohio State House in January of her problems. Shortly after moving into her home in Coatesville, just outside of Youngstown, 3 years ago, she began to get seriously ill. She started vomiting on a regular basis and had intense abdominal pains every day. After numerous trips to 6 different doctors and several emergency visits, tests revealed that her gallbladder had completely failed. She had to have it removed, but still suffered from continual intestinal flu symptoms. That developed into an infection in her intestine that became as large as a grapefruit and that ate through the outside of her skin. When she was finally admitted to the hospital, the doctor said that she would have been dead in a few days if she had not come in when she did. In the course of the next few years, she underwent a series of 5 more surgeries in an attempt to repair the damage that had been caused by this infection. But she continued to get violently ill and had elevated liver and kidney numbers, kidney infections, pains throughout her body, troubles breathing, rapid heartbeat, and many other unexplained symptoms. While searching for answers, she saw 18 different doctors in total who continued to misdiagnose. Some of them told her that she was dehydrated and needed to drink more water. She now knows this advice was nearly killed her. They spent down their savings with thousands of dollars for medical bills, but the answers never came until the trucks and drilling equipment started rolling into her neighborhood. And then she realized that where her medical problems had been coming from, the neighboring property owner had signed a gas lease before they had moved in and never bothered to tell her or to tell them. Out of the 62 acres the gas driller had leased, they then decided to drill very close to her house, as close as the law would permit. They scrambled to learn their rights and found what rights they didn't have, and they finally were told that they needed to do a water test to establish a baseline before the drilling began. It turned out that the baseline test revealed that she had high levels of barium, strontium, and toluene from the water in her well, and this was, as it turned out, from the hydraulic fracturing and drilling that had been happening in the woods surrounding her house, in the other areas of the 62 acres. This was clearly why she and her dog had been so sick for so long. When she'd been most sick, her doctors had her drinking over 2 gallons of this poisoned water a day. They discovered that several wells had already been drilled and were hidden in the woods. Her husband never got sick because he never drank the water at home. When the drilling began next to their house, they could find nowhere to escape with their 3 dogs and a cat. And so for 24/7, nonstop, they were subjected to such unbelievable levels of noise, similar to living on an airplane runway. They couldn't sleep for days at a time, and when they could, it was only short naps in between explosions. They tried using earplugs covered by earphones while listening to the radio and could still plainly hear it. And in addition, they heard constant vibration through the house.
Peter, we're at 5 minutes.
So, are you saying I should wrap it up, or?
No, you're done.
Oh, I'm done?
I'm sorry. You're aware of the rules, but
Okay.
for everybody else that hasn't been here in the past,
Okay.
we have a public comment period, 5 minutes.
Okay, let me just finish with one sentence.
No, that's okay. But
Sit down.
that dignity and respect, please. Thanks. Who wants to go next? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Annie Carroll. My friend's name is Annie. I went last year around to all the shale areas, and I drove around to all the shale areas except
Where are you from, please?
Smithville.
Thank you.
I went to all the shale areas around the United States, and I stopped and talked to people, and pretty much what I saw was if you were within seeing distance of a well, your water was bad. It was extremely common. Much more common than the media is letting you know or the gas industry is letting you know. Another thing that I'd like to address is compulsory integration. I really think, people want to do what they want to do with their land, that's fine. But this isn't just about the people that are getting the wells. This is about the hundreds and hundreds of people who are going to be, their land, their mineral rights are going to be taken from them against their will. And I think that's just absolutely wrong, and that needs to be changed. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. You're next, I promise.
My name is Kim Michaels, and I'm from Coventry. And I know it's going to be on the agenda tonight for David Slottje to speak on a moratorium, and I just want to express why such a thing is so important. I think many people will probably speak on the health issues. So in that instance, the only thing I would like to do is ask that you check into hydrogen sulfide, which is a major issue with natural gas extraction, and it's been documented by the CDC, WHO, EPA, and it's something that really needs checking into because it's not very well publicized. I really want to keep my focus on regulations and the economics. There's been, it's been heavily publicized that this is going to be a great economic boom, and I think there's a lot to discredit that theory. One of the things I wanted to mention was comments by former Governor Rendell from Pennsylvania, where he, at the Natural Gas Nation seminar, he speaks of how, this was back in 2010, he anticipated a $3 billion deficit 2 years after he left office. 1 year after that, he expected that to increase to $5.6 billion. And he was, complaining to the gas industry about this after he had given them such great support. Another big concern is that our Governor Cuomo is putting so much into, with his new economic plan, increased road infrastructure, bridges, and what have you. And I think a lot of that is in direct response to the needs of the gas industry. One of the things mentioned at the Chenango County Natural Gas Advisory Committee was, let's see here. In addition, there are no drilling rigs currently available in Chenango County. The drilling rigs have relocated to West Virginia, primarily due to the weight restrictions on many town roads preventing movement of the heavy equipment. Norse Energy estimates their delayed drilling operations cost them approximately $26,000 per day. And I haven't checked into it too much at this point because this is just Cuomo's new plan for improving roads and bridges in the area. It's fairly new, but I know there was also an expression of the need for, vehicles operated pursuant to an overweight permit with structure use restrictions known as ARFMIS are not allowed to cross. And that's a lot of the rural roads in the area aren't up to snuff for the gas industry, and a lot of money is going to have to go into that, and I think that's going to be coming out of taxpayer pockets. Another thing that was encouraged, they're trying to push through a natural gas infrastructure act, which would cover 50% of the cost for pipelines. Once again, this is coming out of taxpayer pockets. I think if, you know, we are being taxed to death in this area. That property taxes alone have increased phenomenally in the last, since 2005. And we seem to be getting less and less for our money in every area: healthcare, public education. They might be putting more funding into training for maybe the gas industry. One of the other things mentioned, I also picked this up at the Shenango County Natural Gas Advisory Committee, was federal money is going to both Pennsylvania and New York State for training parolees to work in the gas industry. And this was to the tune of, I think the grant was $4.8 million, and that the entire amount was going to that, but it was like $900 and something thousand was going to go to New York, and Pennsylvania had gotten involved with money. They were holding New York, the funds for New York, until the moratorium was lifted. Why this money is being spent specifically for the gas industry is a big concern. I think my time is running short, so I just want to address the issue of regulation. A lot of people think the DEC is protecting us, the EPA is protecting us. I would just like to point out Tom S. West, he's the current legal counsel for Anschutz, and has also been, according to his own biography, representing the gas industry on protecting them from pollution assault, cases. And that's the same company that drew up, actually he's the same man who was the primary author of the original SGICE, which is supposed to protect us, and also the compulsory integration laws and the spacing unit laws.
Thank you, Ms. Michaels. What's fair is fair.
And can I provide you with this information?
Leave it at the end of the table. Yes, ma'am.
I just like to come and step up to date on the new. My name is Carol Marner. I'm from Franklin, New York, and I like to keep you up to date on all the studies that are coming out, both from the government and from medical associations and so forth. So I'm going to read a few of these to you. I just have 10 pages tonight, but they're very recent, and I think it's important to stay up to date on them. One of them is what they call a bombshell study, is that high methane emissions are measured over gas fields. They offset climate benefits of natural gas, and this was an air sampling by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Aeronautic Association, right? And they found 4% methane leakage, which is more than double what the industry claims. So that is one report that I'm giving to you. The other one comes from Williston, North Dakota. This one is that there are no options there for haulers on rejected radioactive substances. This was January 20th. And so the state officials in North Dakota met with the public to discuss what was going to happen to those hazardous and radioactive substances, because since June the landfill has rejected 23 loads due to radiation contaminants. It is unclear where some of the rejected waste ends up, and recently samples were released by an independent company that showed filter stocks and ceramic propane, among other things, used in the oil production process tested positive for radiation. This is something that communities have to think about what will happen when things get turned down. Then the Lung Association, the American Lung Association in New York on January 11th expressed concern over air pollution from fracking. In response to the SGICE, Jeffrey Sadler, CEO of the American Lung Association in New York, released the following statement. Today we submitted comments to the State Department of Environmental Conservation, voicing the Lung Association's serious concerns that DEC's plan for hydraulic fracturing contains troubling air quality deficiencies that must be corrected before any standards governing extraction are finalized. As written, this plan will increase air pollution in the state, placing residents' health at serious risk. And it goes on in that vein. On January 9th, a fracking moratorium was urged by U.S. doctors at the Conference on Drilling Process in Washington until health studies are conducted. Gas producers to set up a foundation to finance studies on fracking and independent research is needed, said Jerome Paulson, a pediatrician at George Washington University School of Medicine, and Adam Law, an endocrinologist at Royal Cornell Medical College, said we've got to push the pause button, and maybe we've got to push the stop button. Fracking injects water, sand, and chemicals to deep gel formations that free trap gentle gas, and they are worried that there's going to be a lot of health concerns about that. There's several other medical officers of the National Center for Environmental Health, and also at the same conference from the Mid-Atlantic Center for Children's Health and Environment. That's a group that's especially getting concerned with children's health. And the DEP ordered shutdown at the Marshall drilling site in West Virginia because of a list of violations which included chemical release in the stream. This was on December 15th. And at the time, the DEP said it was of imminent danger to people. And so the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection ordered Chesapeake Energy to stop operating the rate daycare well pad in southern Marshall County. This is the same pad the DEC and the Army Corps of Engineers are requiring Chesapeake to repair because of slipping soil. And there seems to be problems from the beginning there. The EPA also, everybody knows about this one from within Wyoming. On November 10th, EPA found a compound used in fracking in a Wyoming aquifer, and once EPA has found it, then I guess we'll all find out about it. In northeastern Pennsylvania, Chesapeake Energy misinformed shareholders about the impact of a well blowout. And this is interesting because they found out that the company that was doing the study of the impact actually had several of the same people on its board as were on the board of the drilling company. And so they're being sued for that. And in Texas, we're done?
Miss Warner, correct?
Marner.
Marner, I'm sorry. Yes, you're.
I'm done, okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you all of these.
Over here. Sorry, saw her first. You'll be next. How's that?
With all due respect to the board, I'm not going to give my name. It's in violation of the open meetings law to require people to give their name or to say where they're from. I have a nephew who was severely wounded in Iraq. 8 operations. He was shot in the head by a sniper. And I see on the news and he received a Purple Heart. And I see on the news many people overseas who have died in the war or afterwards committed suicide, and they've received medals for their bravery and what they went through. But I was thinking about this. I have a poem here that sort of capsulizes what we've been hearing here. It's entitled No Medals. No medals. No medals for the Barnett Shale, Marcellus Shale, and Rocky Mountain folks who become ill or died from the headlong extraction of natural gas. No medals for folks caught in crossfire campaigns, corporate giants raged in Texas, Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado. A crossfire compressors, benzene, and overflowing fracking fluid pits. No medals for people sickened by water pollution following exploratory drilling in Maryland, New York. No medals for the young Pennsylvania women who learned their illnesses arose from well water contamination following fracking nearby. There are no medals for collateral damage that occurs in America's corporate drive for profits under the guise of patriotism, yet resembles Sherman's march through Georgia in its devastation of our homeland's natural riches. Natural gas, the intermediary step between fossil fuel use and alternative energy sources. Natural gas, the fuel that will give us freedom from the foreign oil. Natural gas, extracted by horizontal high-volume slick-water hydraulic fracturing, piped to seaports for overseas sales, though promised for sale at home to save soldiers in Iraq. Natural gas that promises to be the next bubble to burst, for why should we stop at the .com and housing bubbles? Natural gas that exposes environmental heroes as hypocrites as they lend their names to advertisements in national highbrow publications that give shale gas kudos for being a clean energy, turning away from the environmental horrors of its extraction. No medals for the Dimmock folk who've lost their well water, and no medals for all Americans who've lost out on the pristine beauty of the Allegheny National Forest that was before it got fracked.
No medals for the folks who've endured poverty in Appalachia in order to live a life close to the elements of water, soil, and air, and now their heads in rage against the guillotine of natural gas promoters.
Hi, Vic Furman, Shenango County, New York. Welcome back to New York. We're not in Texas or Wyoming. We're not Fish, Texas. We are New York. Different geology. Everything's different about the drilling here, and you'll find out west. I'd like to say that Barbara Hank, number 2 district leader for the EPA, in the Senate Hearing Committee on February 14th or February 11th of 2011, it came out and said, and was agreed with by the every senator in every town and every DEP, state environmental agency, that there has never been any cases of groundwater contamination caused by deep volume hydrofracturing. I know it's been on Kiss the Blues here because that's just...
No, it's not, because we're not going to tolerate that.
But they came out and said that in their meetings, and that has never happened, and that was testified to the Senate here, so I don't think anybody's going to come out and, you know, that many people are going to tell the same lie in the Senate here. I'd like to say that you got a lot of wells right here in Plymouth already that are vertically drilled, and I live in Shenango County. I never heard of anybody suing the well company up in this area for fracking contamination, hydrofracking contamination. I don't think that happens. There are ground spills that can happen and have happened. I too have been Pennsylvania, to Carter Road. I've talked to the Slottjes. I've talked with Victoria Slottje. Victoria Slottje and I still have good terms. I don't talk with the Slottjes much anymore because we're on different sides of the fence. But at the very beginning, I had conversations with these people, and every one of them told me they would do this again before this became such an issue, before they were thrown in the spotlight, and before they had to take a side. And I think that those sides were taken, the line was drawn by organizations such as MIGRAD and all these other organizations to come in and say, hey, we're going to stand behind you, we're going to put you in your 15 minutes of spotlight, enjoy it. But when it's over, they're going to disappear, just as quick as they're going to leave this building again. I'd just like to say that 4 years New York has had a de facto moratorium on gas drilling. You don't need to put another one on it. New York is the best regulations written in the country, possibly the world. Why after 4 years would you even think about extending a moratorium when the state has already done it? Who in this town has more expertise and more science backing behind them than the DEC or the state of New York itself? Nobody. Thank you.
Thank you. I see a hand up back here. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Rima Lowe from Afton. I live in Shenango County. I want to tell you in brief a letter I got today from there's a new level of cleaning up on our land. This firm in Houston is trying to get you to sign up so you can send your child to college or have your dream vacation or dream wedding or whatever. I told that woman because I called her back and it really burned me up, okay? I said, maybe it's different in Houston. See, what we have here in Shenango County is beautiful green hills. We have farms. We have clean water, the kind of water that in probably 15 or 20 years, this world is going to be fighting wars about. And yes, there have been cases, not just in Wyoming or Colorado, in New York State, and I wish I could give you, if you want it, we'll look it up. In the Ithaca Journal this summer, there was an article, there were at least 2 people whose water was ruined. One of them had a baseline test, which most people didn't know 4 years ago to do. That man had a baseline test that was recognized by the state. The health department confirmed this as soon as a well was drilled, about 150 feet from his house. The next day, that water was no good. The health authorities told the people, get out of your house. Not don't drink the water, get out of your house. It is not safe there. So they had to leave, walk away from their house. No more, all gone. And these things are happening. There are disclosure agreements that many people are signing because they are afraid that if their water is ruined, they will not be allowed to have water brought to them. They want to make nice with the gas company. So they're going to sign the agreement and they'll never talk about it. I know a woman, and I don't mean I know her personally, but I have talked with her, and in Shenango County. She had methane in her water. She had 3 kids. She didn't know what else was in her water. Called the DEC and they said, that's naturally occurring. Well, it didn't naturally occur in her water until a gas well was drilled up the hill. And she, as far as I know, she just picked up her kids and left because she was scared. She was afraid that her house was going to blow up, and she could not let her kids drink the water. She didn't know what else was in that water. So if you find methane, it might not be just methane. We've got nasty stuff under the ground that's supposed to stay there, like arsenic and barium and radioactive materials, radium-226, radon gas. It's not supposed to be brought up for everybody to breathe and drink, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to remind folks that as others are talking, please show them the respect and keep your side conversations. If you really have a need to have one, please take it outside so everybody can hear. Nobody's distracted. See your hand up there.
Yeah, my name is Dean Cummings. I am from Plymouth. When you started this tonight, you said this was not going to be an anti-fracking or pro-gas. I came here to see the gentleman that was going to speak. I'm assuming that's what everybody's here for. And I'd rather hear him and then they can do the debate outside afterwards.
No, this is public comment.
Well, it's a public concern period, actually.
People will address the board, not others. It's a public comment period. What's fair is fair. We're going to hear everybody who wants to talk. They have a 5-minute limit. Points well taken. There was another hand. Yes, sir.
My name is Sean Campbell. I am also a Plymouth landowner. I also represent Central New York Landowners Coalition. I'm on the steering committee. We have 205,000 acres that are pro-gas. We're also joined with the Joint Landowners Coalition, over 800,000 acres in New York. We represent a lot of people, 70,000 people that do want gas done. We want the DEC to let the rules be done. That's how we should be done. Let the DEC professionals take care of these guys. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Bernhardt. I don't want any applause. I take very seriously that people have financial problems, and I take very seriously that people want to, that many people want to see gas drilling go ahead because they feel that it will make, lift some burdens off their shoulders. But I think it is a community concern, however, is the community and not the individual who has to be concerned with the long run. The stuff that's happening there, the movement that's happening underground in the process of drilling for gas or hydrofracking, putting chemicals into the ground that don't come back, are there forever. Or they're not there forever. They escape. This is a concern that our society is going to have to deal with for thousands of years. So we, all of us people, have to consider the short term versus the long term. Thank you.
My name is David Slottje, and I'm from Acton, Shenango County. I think that most of you here, if you've been here in Plymouth for a while, you remember 22 years ago when the state of New York wanted to site a nuclear waste dump. Not too far from here, over the hill in Taylor. And the people of Shenango County, the people of Cortland County, the people from across the state rose up and said, no, we don't want a nuclear waste dump. We don't want chemicals or radioactive materials that are hazardous for thousands of years being put in our ground here. What's going to happen to the future generations? Well, the natural gas industry, fracking wells all over the country, all over the state, thousands of wells represent thousands of nuclear waste dumps, thousands of ticking time bombs ready to leak radioactive materials, methane, arsenic, barium, benzene, and hundreds of other chemicals that I can't even pronounce some of the names. I'm not a scientist. But the studies have been done. You can see, all you have to do is Google it. There are enough scientists that are not bought and paid for by the gas industry that you can see these chemicals cause cancer. They cause endocrine disruptors. They cause birth defects. They cause all kinds of health problems for the people who are exposed to them. And there's no way to contain them. 20 years from now, what's going to be left here? Now, I would say that where we failed as a movement 22 years ago, once we stopped the nuclear waste dump, we didn't go on to shut down the nuclear industry or promote well enough alternative energies. And now what we're seeing right now is the effects of backroom deals, secret meetings in Washington, D.C. between CEOs and Dick Cheney that exempted the gas industry from the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, right to know legislation. So you do not have transparency. This is not American. Your job is to protect the people of the town here first. And there is so much more you can do on the level. We feel it's such a big issue, national policy on energy, on the environment, but it's affecting our lives, our individual lives here in this community. So it's time to do what we can on a community level to make the transition to safe, renewable energies. First step is stopping this crazy process where we destroy our water and air. Think about what this is going to look like 20 years from now when the gas infrastructure, we say we're broke, $700 billion is being invested into the industry. What if we took that money and put it into local, community-based solutions for alternative renewable energies and have clean water and clean air and clean farms and clean communities for the next 100, 200, 500 years into the future? That's your job.
Hello, my name is Kenneth Fogarty. I'm from the town of Guilford, and I just would like to focus my remarks on DEC. I would certainly be very happy to be comfortable with them protecting me if I thought they could do the job or were allowed to do the job. Earlier tonight at the meeting, we heard that they were so understaffed that they could not send an inspector to a local junkyard. So perhaps that explains some of the observations I've made recently. So just in fairness to the DEC, they are handicapped by gag orders that are called non-disclosure statements. If something pertinent happens in a town that policymakers should know about so that they could make rational and good decisions, this is filtered from them. You have to sign an agreement if you want the company to bail you out that you won't tell anyone, and then I wonder how DEC is able to, without access to this information, to make good decisions. And clearly they have a manpower problem, and they are perhaps, as their union leader has said, they are urged to rubber stamp and move things along. That may be true or it may not true. I became interested in looking at some of DEC's performance with a local well, the Hanahan well that just started down in Guilford. And I was interested because I knew that it was in an archaeological sensitive area where there were Native American cultural effects there. The Parks Department has a map that shows that. And I called DEC, and I was wrong. I complained to, I believe it was Linda Collard was her name. I complained to her that, gee, gas and oil are exempt from archaeological sensitivity studies. She said, no, you're wrong. And I was happy to learn I was wrong. And she said they had to submit a letter from Parks giving clearance. And she asked me if I would like a copy of that letter, and I said, yes, I would. It would be very interesting for me to read it. As I read it, my eye drifted over to the address of the well. Now, the well is in the town of Guilford on Route 8, well known. And the Parks apparently was told by Gas Tank that the correct place, which was not the correct place, was Sydney, Delaware County. So I'm suspecting that what happens is they run that address through their database, no red flag came up, so they wrote this particular letter. They did call me back, Parks, and they said, well, they go by whatever the company tells them. If the company says it's in Bronx, New York, that's what they say, and they send it to DEC, and they hope that DEC vets the information. Now, that got me interested to look at the other items that I had. I had the platform placement map as well as the unit map. So already I knew of two addresses. The correct one is in the town of Guilford. Parks Department believes it's in another county, Delaware County. And I said, well, let me see what the unit map says. It's called the well location platform map. This says that the Hanahan #1 well is on State Route 12. Now, State Route 12 is not State Route 8. State Route 8 is parallel, so in fairness to them, it is a parallel road, but it's about 15 miles away. Now, I only have this one sample that I analyzed in depth. Tonight, I spoke with another person in this audience who told me she knew of 3 wells nearby here where the same sloppiness in well location is presented. So my question then is, if on such a simple matter of filling out an address of a well is not within the ability or desire of DEC to perform, then how can I trust other things that they may say they're doing well? Now, it is my plan to investigate these other wells. I've had some speculation of why they might want you to think it's in a different area. It could entice Chinese investors to think that, oh, it's in a very lucrative area. It's in Broome County. The one that is in Oxford, they say, is in Broome, you see. And to be near a pipeline is a much more lucrative asset than having a well in the hinterlands. So I'm hoping that folks will join me in investigating the files on these other wells and see if they get at least a C+ or something, because we are entrusting them with protecting our water, our air, and so on. Thank you. May I submit this? Absolutely. And this letter, I wrote this letter to Assemblyman Sweeney and to other, he's chairman of the Oversight Committee for DEC, and I've written it to many other Assembly people also. So that's why I would say a moratorium until these things are clarified.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Well, my name is Benny Jones. Unlike most people here, I pay taxes, and I think that people who won't pay taxes, but should not have the info happen for our country. The president has decided that, has stated that fracking, hydraulic fracking and gas drilling is the way of the future. We have enough gas up here to support our country for 100 years. That's a fact. These people say whatever they want to say, that's not, that's reality. The state has the strictest rules going as far as fracking, as far as gas drilling. Let them do their job. The town board should do their job. Just follow what the state is going to do. You guys should, you can decide on your own, but if you go against this, does that leave me as a taxpayer subject to being have to pay for lawsuits? Because if it does, I think you should consider that. If you're going to be sued for not following state rules, and you will be. As a taxpayer, I want to put that down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes,
Susan Dorsey from the town of Smithville. I've lived in Shenango County since 1982. As you can tell by the number of concerns that people have here this evening, it takes an awful lot of studying to be an expert on the issues of horizontal hydraulic fracturing and the state has been at it for 4 years. I'm on the board of the Joint Landowners Coalition that represents 70,000 landowners. And the current law saves the regulation of gas industry and reserves it to the state, not any town board. Despite what you may be told, there's no, under existing current law, any action taking, even a ban against gas by a town board is outside of the law. So if you're working outside of the law, then you have some indemnity by being town board members if you are within the law and you're doing your job for the town. But if you're working outside of the law, the same way as if you were driving a car without a license, your insurance company is not going to cover you individually. You will all be personally liable, as well as the town, taxpayers, up to the limit of your liability policy for the town. And landowners and members of our coalitions are not going to sue you at a class action. We'll sue you one after another, after another, after another, to the limit of the town policy. And so you won't be able to buy insurance, because there are leases recorded in this county and in this town that have been on record for years and years and years. In fact, the concept of mineral rights trumps surface rights. If there's a parcel where you own minerals under the ground, you have the right to go on that ground and get at your minerals. Now that goes back all the way to the Magna Carta. And actually before the Magna Carta, the Romans, when they came up to England and wanted gold, that was the law, that's where that started. So the surface right is superseded by subsurface rights. So if you restrict by zoning, which is a surface land use law, you are avoiding against every statute of land, real estate and property law that's ever been in this country and in most of the Western civilization. You will be sued, it's guaranteed. You don't have the expertise to be experts on the subject and why should you? It's not your job. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. This gentleman's going to say.
I'm from Franklin, New York. Call died January 27th from Bradford, Pennsylvania, due to hydrofracking. His family was forced out of the house. They had to leave because it was so toxic. Now what do you do? Where do you go after it's all toxicated? Your whole land is toxic all around you. Where are we going to go? This is no joke. When your land is polluted, your house is polluted, what are you going to do next? Where are you going to go? This is 2012. Let's not go back. Let's go forward. I've been mixing cement all my life. It always cracks somewhere. Have you ever seen no cracks in concrete? Concrete will crack no matter what. Even pipes will rot out eventually. So I don't know why people don't see it. We live in a different world, different climate, different environment. I've been to Albany. I told them, this is your environment too. It's not just mine. Plus you got the crossroads in New York City that are going to be affected by here. And when the crossroads of New York City get affected, this country will really go down, the worst in the Depression. Did you ever think about that? There'll be nothing left. Just ruin it. Like I hate idiots. Oh yeah. So we'll put more chemicals into the waters and everything. We have all this new technology. Where's it going? We're all looking over, let's ruin some more. So where are you going to leave your grandchildren, next generation, next generation? You want to kill them before they even born, so. You don't need a nuclear bomb. You'll do it back in your own backyard. Let them drill. Bradford County, Bradford, Pennsylvania should be a wake-up call to all the other states. But instead, no, let them drill. Well, I got out of the lease. The year the lease was terminated, I filed the papers. Don't wait for it to expire and just say, don't file the rest of the papers and make sure they send you a release. 10-year lease, 5-year lease, they're up. So you don't have to put on the poor guys over here to fight for you. And then we'll sue all the other land leases that are leased. After they run out of water, we have to move out. We'll sue the ones that had the leases signed. I'm out, so now I can sue the ones that signed. I didn't know better. I learned. I got educated. Can I give you this about?
You certainly can.
I only have one copy, so you can share it. Sure. Or you can make it on for yourselves. I'll leave it there. Thanks. Thank you for your time.
Again, I just want to remind everybody, please have respect for others. We have differing opinions, but let's be cordial. If you have the floor, they'll give you time, and vice versa. And I also want to just make sure that public comment, you're addressing the town board and nobody else in the audience. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, John. You're okay? I promise you're next. I'm sorry. Okay, John, go ahead. You're on.
Hi, I'm John Elishowskis. I have kind of a different choice, I guess you may say, because there's a lot of information that's being misrepresented on both sides. To no drill, no spill is not true. If you go to the windmills up in Alville right now, they're having to clean them once a month with an alcohol-based cleaner because they're dripping soot, and it's not clean. As a farmer, they're changing the weather. U.S. Title 50, Article 38, Section 1520 is allowed to use chemtrails and HARP and wind to control the weather and to poison us, actually poison us. As a farmer, I used to chop corn 10 years ago, and we'd seen the weather change. The clouds just landed on the ground. When they came in and it rained so hard, you couldn't see through your windshield. You looked sideways, you couldn't see 10 feet to 100 feet. Today, when it rains so hard, the clouds are 3 times higher than the hills. They're checkerboard pattern, they're strip pattern, or there's other gray. You can fly a plane between them at the top of the hills. As it rains so hard you can't see through your windshield, you look sideways and see 10 miles. That's man-made rain. I have 2 streams that are virgin streams off the hills of my farm, and when I used to drink out of them, it was sweet water. It's no longer sweet water. You can go up there and see all this green algae. It's just horrible. If you look and read about the HARP and U.S. Title 50 laws, you'll find out you're being condemned with a bacteria called mycoplasma or McCullough's disease is already being initiated into you. An example, cell phones change your DNA. There's lots of things impacting us right now that are really poisoning us. And as I used to plow in, trying to do crops, is if I chop corn, and if it started raining, I'd have to stop almost immediately 20 years ago. I'd have to wait almost a week for it to dry up to be able to chop again, because that's the way it was. It'd come out like mush. Today, I can chop in a pretty good solid rain because it's not the same water anymore. It's a chemical. We have that happening to us right in front of us right now, and no one's taking action of it. There's another law I'd like to make you aware of. U.S. Title 35, Code 1952, Section 181 to 188. That's the law to limit us from having clean, free energy. 20% solar power is the only thing limited. As far as us having anything more than that, you have 5,000 patents that we're not able to use because there's a law saying that we can't. That's actually a treaty law, by the way. Who makes that kind of law? Who's doing this kind of thing? As we have things happening to us like right now, can you write a 10,000-page document in a week? Could you read it in a week? Absolutely not. But that's what the Patriot Act is. It's a part of social programming. If you go to the Georgia Guidestones, they have 10 laws written in stone in the United States. One of those laws is a new language. No laws fit 500 million population. That means 11 out of 12 of us have got to disappear. We have 800 FEMA camps. Is that a tool for population collection? Think about it. So anyhow, in the idea of hydrofracking, I'm not for hydrofracking. I am for drilling for natural gas. It's a God-given product that we drilled. One of the largest natural gas wells in the world, 3 years ago, 60 minutes, right here in Oneonta, New York. We're not polluted. Oneonta is a beautiful countryside. It can be done. We have 50,000 wells in New York State. It's really not a toxic site out in western New York where we have these sites with abandoned wells and old cracking and old property. I don't see that big problem. I don't see where we really polluted the wells. I've seen salt wells, such as Toronto to Detroit has a 238-mile salt line that's huge. It goes under the Great Lakes. And you know what? They didn't have to pollute everybody to do that. We have Ithaca, New York. Didn't have to pollute everybody to do that. There's ways around that. There's ways to do functional things. The Russians have built 50 pyramids because there's pyramid power. Pyramid power is just phenomenal. It's amazing. It can grow plants that have been extinct. It has things to do with light. It has things to do where it closes the ozone hole. It cleans water that's been radioactive, salt water, or heavy metals. But we don't hear about that. We don't teach that. Why don't we teach that? And that the light infects you. Do you realize that you can actually grow apart? If you have a hand that you cut off or a tooth that's missing, you can actually regenerate that to grow again? But we don't teach those kind of things. So anyhow, I have lots of information. If you'd be interested in hearing me speak sometime, I'd love to speak. I speak on Truth Radio. Another thing is one of the presenters that you had speaking brought a topic to the Tea Party. And his topic was that they had a cross, and for the information, the cross being taken down in San Francisco, they had to go through all this rigmarole because of the segregation. They didn't have a Nazi cross there, they didn't have a Jewish cross there, so they had to put it in a box. And the whole solution was, when it came to it through the regulations of the justice system, was to eliminate that state land being federal land. And it was a violation of our Constitution and the idea of saving the cross. Thank you very much.
Susie Weissler from Burlington. I just want to finish up on some of the facts that Peter started talking about. A woman, 30-year-old woman from Ohio, Jamie Frederick, who was drinking water from a well that was already polluted when she purchased her house, but she had no way of knowing that it was polluted because the normal test that anyone would take on their new well, on their home, when they buy it for a well, is not a Tier 3 test that it cost her $500, now it costs $680 to do a Tier 3 test. So it wasn't until she took that advanced test to protect herself against drilling did she realize that she might have been she was drinking water that had been polluted before she purchased her property. One of the problems is that Jamie's problems weren't finished when she stopped drinking the water. She has developed kinetic tremors since she stopped drinking the water as residue, as a neurological problem that came up from the drinking of the water. She lost the ability to bear children. And she feels like even if she had that ability still, she doesn't feel comfortable having a child because she expects that the child would absolutely have deformities because of the toxic liquid that she'd been drinking. She also has no way to protect herself or get the money back from the money she lost out of that she put into her home. Money that she lost through the process of going to doctors. The value of her home was lost completely. But she can't get any of that back because she has no way of proving which of the 10 wells that exist now in a half-mile radius from her house, or the 15 wells that exist in a mile radius from her house, was the one that polluted her well. She has no way to show which well did it, so she has no way to sue anyone. She's completely... No one can help her with that. Not only can no one bring back her health, but no one can help her financially. She's completely bankrupt. Thank you.
My name is Elaine Purkis, and I live in the town of Shenango. I came to see to support the citizens here in Plymouth that are concerned about hydrofracking and coming here and possibly disrupting their way of life. I believe that the moratorium is the safest way to protect this community, is for the economic benefits that some folks are seeking. I brought a DVD that I'd like to share with each of you. I'll leave that for you tonight. It's by Deborah Rogers, an economist that is also a consultant for the Federal Reserve of Dallas, and she analyzed the economic aspects of this issue. Also, there's so many abandoned wells in upstate New York that the DEC doesn't even know where they are. And it's a real problem because when you go to hydrofrac, we can have additional explosions can happen. So right there alone, they haven't done their job. They need to map out where all the abandoned wells are. It's a huge process. There's so many contaminations in New York State that the DEC has not cleaned up yet. They go to www.toxicstargeting.com, and there's tons of documents and literature on there that you can find. There's documents directly from the DEC that shows us that they haven't done their job well enough. So why would we want to move forward with permitting hydrofracking in our beautiful New York State? So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Houston. I'm from Binghamton. And I'm just going to say a couple of points here. First of all, I recorded that DVD that you're going to see, and there is some stuff on there that I've never heard. This is really fresh information from this economist in Texas. One of the things that she said was that, you know, there's signs up that say, drill a well, bring a soldier home. And they also say things like local gas for local people. But right now, what she says is, this is the latest information, just a couple of weeks old, it hasn't changed. The price that the Chinese people pay for gas is 3 times what our domestic price is. They are also, she also says that they are converting liquid natural gas. When you ship it over a long distance, you have to liquefy it. They are presently spending billions of dollars to convert import terminals into export terminals. That our gas is going to be exported. Economically, it doesn't make sense to harvest this at this time. Hydrofracking is inherently unsafe. Even the gas companies admit this, that there's going to be trees cut, birds killed, fish killed, the air and the water are going to become polluted. It will destroy the economy of our local area, which is largely farming and tourism. There is talk afoot right now, not just to ban it, but to criminalize it. Because this is what we do with activity that is inherently unsafe. Murder and rape cause injury in every case. Hydrofracking causes injury in every case. It should be made illegal by penal law. But right now, the DEC, I attended all 4 official DEC hearings and 3 self-organized hearings. I heard a lot of public comment about and I recorded every minute. You can see it online. What I will tell you is there's 2 things I learned from attending all these hearings. Number 1 is this document is so flawed. There are, Adrian Kuzminski from Sustainable Seago has come up with a list of 53 reasons that each one is so bad that if it was true, hydrofracking shouldn't be allowed in New York. These are flaws with the existing regulatory document. People say, we have the best regulations in the United States. It's completely wrong. Chip Northrup has, you can go to tinyurl.com/worstregs and read all about it. In New York, the setbacks refer back to the 1992 document, and the setbacks are 150 feet from a person's house, 100 foot from a person's house and 150 foot from a public building, like a school. That's it. There is no other state in the United States with regulations worse than this. So it is clear that the DEC is inherently unsafe. It's not economical. We have the worst regs. The DEC are not going to protect us. What's the conclusion that we come to? There are 114 local municipalities around New York State that have either already passed, and we hear about a couple, but there's really a lot. That's 114 are on the list. They either have passed already moratoria or local bans, or they're moving in that direction. This is what we all must do at the local level, at your level. We have to pass these local bans, and the speaker tonight is going to be able to address the mechanics of it a lot better than me. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Hi, my name is Slottje. I'm from the town of Augusta, and I know I hear everybody saying, well, people here, we all pay taxes everywhere. It's all good, it's all the same. However, I would like to address the fact that no matter how many acres we have, all of us have one vote. It's not one vote for how many acres you own, but one vote per person, which is really the most important thing. How many of your constituents are asking you to please protect them? You all, right now, are the most important people in history. You all, right now, are the only people who can protect your constituents from what's happening right now. And I have over 9 cases, legal cases to support this, as well as Attorney Slottje presenting his. And I also have another document that supports it by 39 other cases, because at first, this law firm in Syracuse, Von Schoen and King, I'm not sure if you all heard of them, they're pretty prestigious. At first they said, well, they all can't, we can't do this. However, they searched through the legal case and they found 39 cases to support that you all have the right to protect your community. You all have the right to do what your constituents are asking you. Please, protect us. No one else in the state is capable of doing it right now at this point in history. You all right there are the most special people that are happening right at this point in history. And your constituents are asking you, please protect us. We have the science we are giving you, and we have the legal systems, the cases we are giving you, but please, we're asking you, please protect us. And that's a basic plea, and it's according to the public trust laws. It says here that as certain gifts of nature, pure air, clean water, a stable climate, healthy ecosystems belong to everyone and cannot be appropriated for exclusively private use. Under the public trust doctrine, the government trustees may not allow private interests to cause irrevocable harm to critical public trust resources, clean air, clean water. So please, this is what your constituents are asking you. Everyone has one vote, and it's not one vote for everything. And if you're concerned about people being sued, according to the anticipatory nuisance doctrine, it says here, anticipated harm. This is where actually everyone else can, shifting the analyst to the level of harm could sway a court to enjoy an activity as an anticipated nuisance, particularly in environmental cases where harm is often irreparable due to the improbability of returning the environment to its previous state. They've already proven they cannot return the water back to its drinkable state. They've already proven they cannot stop the radiation. They cannot stop the heavy metal contamination as well as toxic chemicals. So please, thank you very much for your time. And I applaud you all for taking the time to consider everyone's opinion. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Bob Olney. I'm from Allentown, Plymouth, and I expect to be from Plymouth for a long time. Forgive me if I get a little disjointed. I usually write things down if I'm going to speak. I didn't expect to speak tonight, but listening to all these sound bites, it just kind of got me crazy. First of all, I want to commend you on actually having a gas report at all your meetings, being proactive, and getting started on all of this and knowing what's coming down the line. Thank you for that. Second of all, I hope you got some names and stuff from all those people that are so concerned about me from the surrounding areas, because I could use some help mowing this year. I do want to ask you to look specifically at the science, the scare tactics, and we all see negative advertising because it works. We see that all over the place when our, during our elections. You're seeing it now, you're going to see it probably forever. It works until people say, oh, what's this really all about? I'm going to ask you just to sit back, actually read the DEC report. From what I'm hearing, we might as well just get rid of the DEC because they're just no good. Look at the report before you do anything. Look at the report, digest it, get advice from counsel, and make your decision. Thank you.
I too want to commend you on your patience and listening to all of us, but I'd like to make a recommendation in regard to your agenda.
Sorry, do you wish to state your name and where you're from?
Oh, I'm next door, Farsalia. My name is Dr. Fannin Steele.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What I was going to say is it would be really, I think, a balance and a help to everyone to also have on your agenda someone who reports on the efforts toward renewable energy in our area, efforts that are made to use the sun and other renewable sources as our energy needs, to fulfill our energy needs, and how to keep Shenango really green and how to make it green in the future. So just having a gas report sort of follows the county. They spend to the tune of probably now maybe $100,000 for consultation to a Natural Gas Advisory Committee, but we have nothing in the county formally to give us an inspiration and a push and to put county dollars into renewable energy, and the sun will be with us for a long time, but gas in 20 years will probably run out. My point here is that I think could be a model for, you could be generating a model for every other board in the county if you would just include a representative to report on the efforts for renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Lori Will, Thomas Plymouth. I've lived here all my life. My family's lived here for at least 5 generations. Over 600 town members, town residents have signed a petition asking you to please do the moratorium. You need to really consider that that's quite a few people that have signed it. It may even be more than that. That's only one. I urge you to really consider strongly signing this. Protect our water and our air and our way of life, not just for the residents that live here now, but for our children and our grandchildren for generations to come. Please.
Yes, sir.
My name is Edgardo Rodriguez, and I just want to share a story because I heard something about the Natural Gas Committee from the gentleman here. And I went to one of them at the very beginning. It was at Seago, Delaware, or Shenango, and maybe Madison County. First, the whole idea of getting them all together and talk about the gas issues. And I remember going to that meeting and bringing a DVD of Theo Colburn. She's an endocrinologist, and she is an expert on endocrine disruptors. And at the privilege to talk, I spoke. And I brought up the health issue. And I said, you know, there's some stuff here that I think you should know, and it's very dangerous, I think, with this gas drilling. I think you should look into it. So it's good that you have a gas advisory committee, but when it came to addressing the environmental, I was ruled out of order by Steve Palmatier, who was your gas consultant. Okay, so I thought that was unfair. You have to look at all the sides of this issue. And by the way, my name is David Slottje. I'm from the town of Butternut, and I'm in Otsego County, so I felt like you go to that meeting, and I think all the meetings should be open to everybody. It's a public meeting. I don't think we should make that an issue that if you don't belong in this town, you shouldn't be speaking for the town. That's my opinion, and I think that should be, that's why a public meeting is a public meeting. But getting back to that issue, and I see 2 people, I think the supervisor yourself and this gentleman here, which I don't really know your name, and I'm sorry about that. I think you are part of the gas committee or work with them or sit there, because I've seen you at that board meeting. So I just want you to know that these are issues that have to be addressed. You look at the economic, you got to look at the environmental. And all these, I've been going town to town because I see people have been also going town to town, which is okay. I'm doing it, you can do it. But it's been the same situation. People are pushing the gas. And they're not listening to the people. And this is not a dying situation. This is just going to get worse. And I think a moratorium would be a perfect place to start with this, because this is just going to get worse. As the situation with the gas room gets worse, and people start talking, and people don't take disclosure agreements, and people start saying the horrors of this process, maybe the economic value won't be so good after you understand all these issues. So a moratorium, I think it's good to be in place. I would ask you, you don't have to, but there have been accusations here about legal things that I think are questions that should be addressed. And David Slottje will do a presentation. I encourage the board to please ask any questions. If I was sitting in your place, I would ask every question that I could tonight, because, and then you can get your opinion from a pro driller lawyer, but have both sides, so you can make a determination. And that's why we need a moratorium, so you can balance these things out. And I think that's the purpose of this meeting tonight. And it's something to really consider and not just keep pushing this gas issue along the way I see that a lot of the towns are trying to do, and a lot of people don't want it. And then the towns are not listening to the people. Thank you.
My name is Bonnie Reynolds. I'm from the town of Kirkland. And I will be very quick. I have a letter to read. As an environmental engineering technician with New York State DEC Region 5, I managed scores of groundwater remediation projects in the 1990s. I reviewed countless hydrogeologic reports and seen thousands of lab results from contaminated wells. I'm familiar with the fate and transport of contaminants and fractured media, and let me be clear, hydraulic fracturing, as it is practiced today, will contaminate our aquifers. Not might contaminate our aquifers, hydraulic fracturing will contaminate New York's aquifers. If you were looking for a way to poison drinking water supply here in the Northeast, you couldn't find a more chillingly effective and thorough method of doing so than with hydraulic fracturing. My experience investigating and remediating contaminated groundwater taught me some lessons. There's no such thing as a perfect well seal. Occasionally, sooner, often later, well seals can and do fail, period. No confining layer is completely competent. All geologic strata leak to some extent. The fact that a less transmissive layer lies between the drill zone and a well does not protect the well from contamination. A drinking water well is never in solid rock. If it were, it would be a dry hole in the ground. As water moves through joints, fissures, and bedding planes into a well, so do contaminants. In fractured media, such as shale, water follows preferential pathways, moving fast and far, miles per week in some cases. In the absence of oxygen, such as underground, organic compounds break down infinitesimally, slowly. Chemicals injected into the aquifer will persist for many lifetimes. When contamination occurs, and it will occur, we will all pay for it regardless of where we live. Proving responsibility for groundwater contamination is difficult, costly, and time-consuming, and while corporate lawyers drag out proceedings for years, everyone's taxes will pay for the subsurface investigations and the whole house filtration systems, the unending lab analyses. I'd love to see hundreds more jobs created, but not these hundreds of thousands using well water, but not if it means hundreds of thousands using well water will be at a high risk of contamination. Not if it means every New Yorker will be on the hook for the cost of cleanup and for creating alternate water supplies. If your well goes bad, neither you nor your children, nor their children, will ever be able to get safe, clean water back. That's too high a price. Drill for gas, absolutely, but develop safe technologies first. That's from Paul Ketzler. I believe he's teaching down at Cornell right now.
I just want to remind folks, please respect others. Anybody else? Okay. Alpay just got in. Yes, sir.
The governor said it best just recently. We got nailed with 60,000.
You wish to state your name?
Yes, Larry Palato, Unadilla.
Thank you.
But the governor went on to say that through 60,000 public comments, it was sifting through fear and emotion. That's exactly what you see in this room. I'm talking endocrinology, we're talking psychology. Come on, people. They're drilling all over the place around here and nobody's dead. You get it? There's no body count. So where are you coming from? Where are you making this up?
Sir, hold on. Whoa.
You're going to be signing a death warrant for these people?
I just want to remind the folks who have comments, that it's not for others in the audience. You're addressing the town board. Please.
So, you elect the governor to lead you, and then every step of the way, you're trying to knock him down. The process is established, the way, which means that we need to proceed with this. It's right before you. And all you're doing is knocking it down. Everybody has a different right. The whole country's like that. You like the kind of car you drive, you burn too much gas, you burn wood, it's great for the atmosphere. Natural gas is the alternative. We're talking about until we get the better one, which nobody knows about. The solar power is not doing it yet. I tried it, I'm sure a lot of people tried it, I know you tried it. But anyway, you have to just look at the leadership, what you elected. Because I voted for the man myself. And you know what he's doing? You can come here and you can start all kinds of hysteria. You can tell stories. Go down to Pennsylvania and look. You know, there's an army of people just looking for something to happen and nothing's happening. You know, it could be one year radio now when they have a snapshot of something terrible happening. The truth to the world that this is going to kill everybody. There you have it.
Yes, sir.
My name is Stephen Phelan, the book right below me, just on the line before saying it. I'd like to make this observation. We've been talking about hydrofracking now for several years. The moratorium's been on for 4 years. The state has sent some of the best people out there to figure out what's the best way to approach this. There's no other energy source that's available, economically feasible at today's date. Gas is the one. It's not a question of whether we should be drilling, but we should be drilling with safety issues on everybody. We sent the best scientists we have out there. We are the only state that is in a moratorium on hydrofracking. I pray that the town board never has to make this decision on whether to ban or not ban. Leave it to the state, who has put the people in line that have the ability to make that decision.
All due respect, ma'am, I think you were up once, right?
No.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In 2000, my name is Rosemary, I'm from the town of Guilford. In 2004, the EPA published a report on the toxicity of diesel fuel in fracking fluid. And it stated that it was tens of thousands times more toxic than allowable limits. In 2005, our federal government exempted the gas drilling companies and oil companies from the Safe Drinking Water Act. And that tells you that we have the science, we have the reports. It's just an obstacle. The EPA is an obstacle to the gas companies, and that our federal government had to change the law just for them, just to proceed with gas drilling. It wasn't safe in 2004, and it's not safe in 2012. That's not going to change. And you have to consider, a lot of farmers have leased, if their wells get contaminated, and their animals are contaminated from the drinking water that they are drinking, this will affect the food market and the products that are on the market, milk, etc., dairy products, and what kind of safeguards are there to protect the public if their wells become contaminated and affects their animals. I don't believe we have any testing in place, any safeguards to protect the food chain. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?